Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Erica, the author. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am here to do a review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yes, I have been watching all season long, but I haven't actually just reviewed the entire season. I've done a couple of episodes here and there, but I am here today because the girls are actually on a girls trip. And of course, I'm a girls girl. I love girls trips. So I thought to myself, I'm definitely going to just come down to YouTube and review this episode. So let's get into it. Of course, we know this is season 17, episode 13, and it was called Kilts, Chaos, and Reads. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of you that have already seen it, so I'm just going to try to give you as much detail as I can. Some of you have already seen it, but there are some who haven't been able to watch it. Perhaps you watch it on Peacock and you haven't been able to catch up with it yet. Maybe you had to go to work, you had some things to do this morning, so you haven't caught up. Well, if you want to know what happened, I am here for you. I have all of my notes. So again, let's get into it. So of course the ladies, like I said, they're going on their girls trip. The opening scene was actually with them actually arriving at the airport. We love to see them arrive at the airport. We can see their fashions, all of those things. It's already been said that it's around Phaedra's birthday. And we know if you have been watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta, if you're an OG watcher of The Real Housewives of Atlanta or a veteran watcher of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, then you know that a lot of their seasons were filmed around Phaedra's birthday. I know they celebrated her birthday in Mexico, and they also went on another trip where they were there around Phaedra's birthday, which is actually at the end of October. So this is when their trip occurred. They are all going to Scotland, and we know that that is the home of the Traitors. I'm not sure if you guys actually watched The Traitors. Just little side note, The Traitors is great. I know a lot of people don't like stuff like that, but the Traitors, I love Traitors. I have watched Traitors US. And I'm not just the person who jumped on because the celebrities were on there. I actually watched the first season where they had a mixture of celebrities and just, you know, normal day-to-day people. I have watched Traitors UK, Australia. I watched Celebrity UK, which was actually really, really good. And I'm going to tell you one that is a sleeper pick that is excellent. Look at Traitors Canada. Love, 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 love. That was a really, really good season. I think it was like maybe their first season or something like that. But it was really, really good. Check that out if you get an opportunity. But anyway, I'm just here to let you know that that's like the theme of why they're going to Scotland. Because, of course, Phaedra and PORSHA were actually on the Traitor. So let's get back into Atlanta. So the girls, like I said, they arrive at the airport. You know, everyone's all bundled up for the cold weather. They have on jeans, boots. Of course, we normally see them going to the islands or somewhere warm, but this time they're going places where they actually need a coat. And I kind of like that because it kind of switches it up a little bit. We don't see the same thing, or they're not going sort of like to the same destination trips. They're going to Scotland. So of course they were on the plane. You know, they were singing happy birthday to Phaedra. She was in the aisle dancing. And then when they finally arrived, we actually see them all kind of separate. There were 3 vehicles for the ladies, so they all broke them down. We had Kelly and SHAMEA, they were in a car together. They were actually just discussing how cold it was. I think it was 56 degrees there. For me, 56 degrees is not really cold, but I think to people who live in a warmer climate, that would be cold. I am in DC, so 56 degrees to me feels beautiful. It feels amazing outside. You know, you can put on a cute little leather jacket or a cute little coat and you're good to go. And so we saw PORSHA, Phaedra, and Cynthia. They were in a car talking together. They were talking about the accommodations, and you know, PORSHA was telling Cynthia, of course, you did such a great job with the Dallas trip. You know, we had to step it up and we had to do it big for Scotland. And then we see Angela and the last car, I think, was Angela, Drew, and Pinky. Well, it wasn't so much the last car, but they were in a car together. And they were discussing Traitors. Angela actually brought it up like, oh my God, I'm excited. You know, this is where they filmed the Traitors. And they were kind of talking in the car, and Pink was saying that they actually need to file a friendship bankruptcy. And so, like I said, the ladies, they're getting there. You know, they pull up to like a castle. They're not staying at a hotel or an Airbnb. This is actually a castle. Very, very nice. Very reminiscent of the Traitors. Hold on just one second, guys. I'm sorry, that was just an Amazon package being delivered, and I thought they were going to ring the doorbell. But anyway, so again, like I said, they arrive at the castle, like I said, very reminiscent of Traders. And it's a very, very nice place. There's a guy standing outside, a black Scottish guy, to actually welcome them. I don't want to necessarily say, I don't want to say he's concierge. I don't want to say he's the butler, perhaps their tour guide, but he was just there to welcome them to the home. I don't know if they would call him like the chancellor of the home. I don't really know, but I know that he is a well-known Scottish guy. They were saying that he's on TikTok. He's a fitness guy, but he also does some other things in Scotland. He introduced himself as his name was Torgy. And he sort of brought them into the house. A lady was playing, I forgot the name of the instrument that she was playing, but we know that it's very popular in Scotland. Cynthia actually called it a banjo. It does start with a B, but I forgot the name of it as well, so I'm not going to mess it up and try to guess. But they had a really, really nice welcome. It was a very nice Scottish welcome. So the ladies get into the house. Portia and Phaedra actually go and look at the master bedrooms while the other ladies go to lunch. So of course it's Phaedra and Portia's trip. Phaedra got a really, like, I guess you would say, the best room in the castle because it is her birthday, and of course she's like the host of the trip. So we get to them, we see them kind of walking around. Torgy is sort of giving them a tour of the castle. The other ladies are sitting down, like in, I guess you would say, like a dining area. So they asked Cynthia off the break. They said, well, you know, Cynthia, you're close to them. Have they told you anything about the trip? Cynthia said they didn't give me any information. All they said was expect the unexpected. Pink said that she did announce at the table that they're moving forward with her film and that SHAMEA is going to have a major role in the film. So the girls, they were clapping and they were excited for her. Angela said that we all should do a guest appearance in the actual film. Cynthia said that actually Phaedra should be, excuse me, Cynthia said that Phaedra should definitely be in the film. Kelly said, yeah, she can play an attorney. And, you know, Kelly announced that, you know, Phaedra is her attorney for what she's going through, you know, her divorce hearings, her custody battle, all those things with her husband, all the financial stuff that she's been going through. And we know what Kelly's been going through this season. So they talked about that. And so she said that unfortunately her life has changed. She said that she actually moved out, and she did tell the ladies that she moved into SHAMEA's investment property. Cynthia mentioned, she said, look, we've all been there before. We've all gotten a divorce. You know, let us know if you need help. You know, we are here for you. And so Kelly said, well, thanks, I appreciate that, but it doesn't feel that way. She said, oftentimes in this group, we really don't support each other, and, you know, things tend to come back up later. And I do understand that Kelly is feeling a little isolated from the group. Kelly really only talks to Kay. She only talks to, you know, SHAMEA and Pinky for the most part. I'm sorry, but I really thought, you know, that Kelly and Drew would have been able to bond a little more, and I hate that there is a division in the group because I think we could have gotten some really good scenes out of them. Not so much a cry fest, but I just think that we would have gotten real reality TV had they bonded a lot more, because they actually are going through a lot of the same things. I remember when they went to Curacao, they were sitting by the pool, and Kelly and Drew didn't even realize that they had gotten married around the same time, that they had almost even split up with their husbands at the same time. So it was kind of like one of those things where, you know, it was a lot of similarities, and I'm sorry that we didn't get to see Kelly and Drew, like I said, bond more than they have, but we know that there's a true divide in this group. So when they were talking about that, when Kelly said that, well, Angela says, well, Kelly, you do have support in this group. Angela said, I'm the one who gets the least support in this group. Angela, I could say yes and no. I do feel like Angela, I would say last season, Angela was kind of like a lone ranger. And I think that's how her and Drew just sort of teamed up, because they were kind of like on the outs with the group. So I can agree with Angela in some way, but then I can say not now, because I do feel like, this is how I feel, guys. And this is just my opinion. I have no proof of it, but I feel like Phaedra and Portia met with Drew and Angela probably before they filmed the season and said, let's call a truce. Let's try to make some good TV, call a truce. Let's agree not to go after each other. Because I really don't think that Angela fully trusts Portia, but I think that they have called some type of truce. So I will say that even though Angela's saying she doesn't get the support in the group, I do believe that now Portia has gone to Angela in some sort of way and told Angela, hey, let's not fight. That's the way I kind of feel about it. But they were going back and forth about it. SHAMEA quickly said, no, you have support in Drew. And Drew said, yeah, I do try to advocate for her when I need to. She said, Angela and I do actually support each other, if need be. She said, no doubt, we have each other's back, when necessary. And so I don't think that there was anything wrong said out of that. But I do feel like Angela does kind of have some scores to settle with these ladies. I feel like Angela is a grudge holder, as most of these ladies can be, but I really see that Angela kind of holds on to things and she doesn't let it go as quickly as maybe some of the others. So basically, they kind of brought up the whole situation with Kelly. Kelly said, even with that guy, I do have your back. When that guy came into my event at Williams and Sonoma, I shut it down. I tried to clear it up. I immediately put him out. But basically, you were the one that kind of dragged it out. And we know that there were some things where it kind of came out where Angela was trying to figure out, what was going on, who paid who, or who got the information. And it kind of almost came out as if like maybe Angela had kind of set it up. I really don't even think Angela set it up in a sense, but I just think Angela sort of dove in too deep and she didn't really understand the world of reality TV. Like, if nothing was done, you kind of probably should have left it alone, but I think you were angry that it was done in the first place, so it made her actually sort of dig further, and then in actuality it kind of backfired on her a little bit. So SHAMEA is saying basically, they even mentioned something about Nashville and the issues with Charles, and SHAMEA was like, well, you didn't like when people said stuff about your husband, but now you're accusing me. So now we see this showdown with Angela and SHAMEA. And SHAMEA is saying, don't talk about me. And then they got into this conversation about Angela's neighbor, George. George apparently is some type of entrepreneur or businessman in Atlanta. Apparently, he donated some money to SHAMEA's charity. However, Angela just feels like any man that makes a comment or actually compliments SHAMEA, he may want to sleep with her. I can tell that Angela, it wasn't necessarily that she was lying per se. She was lying, but she was more or less poking at SHAMEA when she said, oh, well, did you sleep with George? So by that time, Portia and Phaedra had came in. And Portia knows a lot about this stuff. But like I said, Portia is on the line of Portia, to me, is keeping her hands clean because she knows she didn't have a good season last season and she didn't give us a lot about Simon. I think what Portia's trying to do, Portia and SHAMEA refuse to talk and refuse to address their issues. We know that they will, but I think Portia's on she's kind of like letting SHAMEA self-destruct and allowing the group to sort of not like SHAMEA or see a different side of SHAMEA, I guess I should say. So, Portia even told SHAMEA during the conversation that she was being defensive. But when they were talking about the guy, George seems to be obviously some shady character, and he's always in mess apparently because it seems like everybody knew who George was. Well, it was said that when Angela said, well, did you basically did you screw George, SHAMEA got really, really mad, and the other lady's like, okay, you know, okay, where is this coming from? So Angela, like I said, she did it to poke at SHAMEA because she's been saying basically that SHAMEA is sleeping with perhaps some of the Falcons players or some of the Hawks and stuff like that. So now she's sort of keeping this, you know, that SHAMEA is kind of like a hoe type thing going around. Porsha even said, oh my God, is George married? Now, I didn't know if George said that because she's known George's history as far as dealing with a lot of women. I didn't know if it was coming from a place of questioning his sexuality. Excuse me. I really didn't know exactly where Porsha was coming from with that statement, but she did ask, was he married? And, you know, Angela said yes. So to me, it was a whole lot of mess at this table. To me, the conversation really just went all the way left for no reason. But again, like I said, Angela's a grudge holder, and SHAMEA now has this attitude of, if you say something to me, I'm definitely going to say something to you, and I'm coming back. So they were, you know, kind of talking, and then, and I'm just referring to my notes because I don't want to, you know, forget about anything. Angela was saying basically SHAMEA, well, someone said that SHAMEA is sort of bringing the group down. Oh no, SHAMEA was saying, y'all are acting like I'm the one trying to bring this group down. That's exactly what happened. And so she said Angela basically has put that out there. So Cynthia said, no, Angela's not the only one that feels that way. A lot of us feel that way. She said, she told SHAMEA, she said, when you're good, you're good. She said, when you're good, the others are good. But when you're not, the rest of them are not. And she said, I feel like you have the potential to bring this group together. I wouldn't say that SHAMEA has the potential to bring this group together. SHAMEA is actually not the leader of the group. But I will say that SHAMEA sometimes can be the funk girl, like Drew said, like shot o'clock, like all of those things. And even though it's kind of corny, and SHAMEA comes across many times to me as if she's being phony and she's forcing her way and forcing the humor and forcing herself on people, I do feel like the group was a little lighter when she was like that. So that part of it, what Cynthia was saying, is I do agree with that. So that was pretty much the end of that conversation. Like I said, Kay didn't say anything. Pinky didn't say a whole lot. Drew really didn't say a whole lot. I don't think Porsha and Phaedra really wanted to touch it like that. After a while, they just said, you know, hey, ladies, you know, go to your rooms. You have time to get yourself some rest. Your names are on the door. So when they go upstairs, they find their rooms in the castle. Apparently, I did hear Phaedra say, let's put people who don't like each other close together. And I don't really even know why she did that, because that's going to actually, to me, that's more of a problem. To me, if you have all this space in the castle, you can put SHAMEA and Kelly together, and you can put the girls who like each other together. And it's not necessarily a problem. You know, when you guys come together, if conversations need to be had, cool, but you don't need to put them next door to one another. So I didn't really know why Phaedra said that. So SHAMEA gets a text. She's sitting in the room, I think, with Kelly and Pinky. She starts talking to George's wife, Ashley, via text, or she shows them the text messages that she's had from Ashley from some time ago, where Ashley was saying that Angela was being messy and Angela was coming after her and this, that, and the other. SHAMEA said, you know, she clearly said in her text, you know, it was said that I slept with George, and that's, you know, that's couldn't be farthest from the truth. And Ashley said she did not believe that. She just said that Angela was being messy. And Angela, so I think as time went on, Porsha and Phaedra went to Angela's room after they kept going, and they were going back and forth. You know, Angela told SHAMEA, hey, if you have something to say, I'm right here. I'm basically next door. You can come out in the hallway, or you can say what you need to say to me. I'm not backing down off of you. But SHAMEA stayed in the room and was yelling through the door. Again, Porsha and Phaedra go to Angela's room. Angela was telling them basically, yeah, I was the one who said that she, you know, slept with George, and she was telling them about how George said once he saw SHAMEA, oh, you know, looking at at her, I have to donate. But Angela, like I said, Angela's just poking at SHAMEA. Is what she's poking at SHAMEA about a good thing? No. No one wants to be poked about or lied on, saying that they're sleeping around on their spouse. But at the same time, I think Angela is still, like I said, that grudge holder, and she still does not like SHAMEA from last season. Because she made a truce with PORSHA, she's not going to say anything to PORSHA, so she's directing all of that to SHAMEA. Is it right? No. But do these girls do that? Absolutely, 1000%. Angela's not the only one who does that. So, Angela called Ashley herself. And I say Angela, and I wrote in my notes, Angela is being messy. She asked, so Ashley was obviously upset and saying that, hey, basically Angela cleared it up, and she told Ashley, Ashley told her that SHAMEA said that they slept together or whatever. So Angela said, I didn't say that you said anything. I didn't put your name in anything. I was the one who said it. So Angela cleared that up. She did not lie on that. She said, I said that. I put that out there. It had nothing to do with you. So then the girl Ashley reveals on the phone that Angela did ask for information on SHAMEA. And you know what I wrote in that, and you can see it. I don't know if you can see it. It's highlighted. I said, congratulations, Angela is officially a housewife. Because that's what these girls do. Angela's not doing anything that the other women have done. I'm not saying that it's right, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, but they all try to get information on these other ladies going into the next season. SHAMEA says that Charles is outside and he's doing things. SHAMEA is saying that she said that after Angela said it, but obviously they still are looking into some things that Charles is doing. And that's what I wrote. She's officially a housewife. Angela is not doing anything that PORSHA hasn't done, Phaedra hasn't done, or these other ladies haven't done coming into these seasons. Oftentimes, that's what they do in the off season or whatever the case may be. While they're filming, they talk to other people. And apparently, I don't know the culture of Atlanta because I don't know anyone that actually lives in Atlanta or whatever. But obviously, a lot of these people talk in Atlanta. Like, it seems like information just falls into these people's laps, whether whether it's false or whether it's true. But it seems like these people in Atlanta are always talking about the housewives and the celebrities in Atlanta. There's always some rumors circulating. So obviously George and Ashley, they were pulled into this, but I can just about imagine that they too actually like being involved with this stuff. I don't think that Ashley likes her husband being accused of anything, but I think that she's okay sort of being in the mess, because by now Ashley should have shut it down and said, I don't want to talk to SHAMEA and I don't want to talk to Angela, because both of y'all, I don't know what y'all have going on, but my husband and I are not going to be a part of it, point blank, period. But she is talking to both of them. Ashley didn't really seem to have an attitude with Angela the way most of us probably would think that she should. So they like the mess. But anyway, Angela, like I said, she cleared it up on the phone that Ashley did bust her out and say, yeah, you were asking me for information. PORSHA and Phaedra kind of like nudging each other, but it's nothing, because it's nothing, like I said, that Phaedra and PORSHA have not done. They just said that Kelly was sleeping with a pastor or this married guy, and they have done the same thing. They dig up information on people. So that was the end of that scene. So the ladies actually, I guess they get ready and they head to dinner. So when we come back, we see the ladies heading to dinner. Like I said, they were all in separate cars. Again, they were all discussing SHAMEA and the accusations against SHAMEA. Drew, Kelly, and Cynthia were in a car together. They were saying that it just doesn't make sense. Now, Cynthia said in her confessional, she said she likes Angela and she does trust Angela, but she doesn't believe that SHAMEA is just sleeping around. Which I don't. I think that SHAMEA does have some secrets, and she's probably done some things with PORSHA, or when PORSHA and Candy and that whole crew, when they were all really, really tight. There probably is some things there, but as far as SHAMEA just sleeping around all the time, I don't believe that. And if she is, it's going to come out. Now, it hasn't come out, so I don't believe it. But if SHAMEA has done anything crazy, it's going to come out. What I do believe SHAMEA is doing, SHAMEA is a very beautiful woman, and she has the body of life. And I do believe SHAMEA flirts a whole lot. I do believe that SHAMEA is sort of putting herself out there. SHAMEA is an attention whore, and I can see that on her. I'm not saying, and I know that she has to be friendly for her job, but I can see SHAMEA flirting. Does it go any farther than that? I'm not too sure. That's just my opinion, but I don't think so. So again, they were all talking in the car. Like I said, Pinky, Kay, and SHAMEA were in the car. SHAMEA, of course, was saying how she's tired of the accusations and stuff like that. Porsha, Phaedra, and Angela were in the car, and Angela went on to tell them that she does have a problem with SHAMEA, and, you know, it extends a lot. Then, you know, Angela said, okay, I'm not going to talk anymore about George and Ashley, but I didn't like that SHAMEA also said something to Amari. And so, you know, Porsha then was like, well, what's going on? So she said, oh, I didn't tell you. So she didn't actually say it in the car, but she did say, you know, she said something to Amari. So Phaedra said, well, did Amari say anything back to her? Angela said, no, she was caught off guard. She was shocked that Amari, you know, that, SHAMEA actually said something to her. And SHAMEA should not have said that, but we know she didn't care. SHAMEA did say last week, you know, she said, oh, you know, hi, you know, nice to meet you. You're so much nicer than your mother. Now, of course, you know, if someone says that about your mother, you're going to feel some type of way. Kandi would have addressed it right then and there. You know how Kandi was about Mama Joyce. Most people are like that about their moms, and no one wants to hear them say, oh, you're nicer than your mother, or you're a better person than your mom, or anything alluding to the fact that your mom is basically some trash, or your mom is an ish starter, or your mom, I don't like your mother, because that's what it actually comes out to be. So they were at the table, and Phaedra said that we do need to kind of raise the bar, like talking to kids or saying anything to our children, we should not do that. So SHAMEA questioned Pink at the table about what the beef was with Kay. And, you know, they were kind of going back and forth. SHAMEA was basically trying to put Pinky on the spot. Kay jumped in. Kay said, look, you said something to me, you hurt me, and I did talk to Pinky about it. You know, SHAMEA was trying to say Pinky was jumping in the middle and started something, but I'm glad that Kay Michelle spoke up, and she said it. She said, look, I did speak with her about it, but Kay diffused the situation. She said that, you know, she was hurt after the club, but she did say, SHAMEA, you have been a friend to me. I do appreciate you. You're a nice girl, stuff like that. So Cynthia also thanked Pinky for kind of like facilitating the conversations between SHAMEA and K. Michelle. She was like, you're doing a really good job. She said basically that went smoothly, so to speak. So someone asked Porsha if she's going to settle down with if she will now settle down with a woman or whatever the case may be. So of course we know that Porsha is dating Sway. At this point, I think Porsha said in her confessional they've been together for a year, and she said basically she's gay now, and yeah, you know, basically she was on that road and she made it right, so she's comfortable in the relationship that she's in. Pinky said, I think Cynthia asked, has anyone else actually been with a woman? And Pinky said that she was in a relationship with a woman for 3 years. Phaedra, you know, the confessional gangster, said, you know, hey, she's surprised that Pinky ever showed up with a man, because Pinky was all the way, you know, in a relationship. She said her body was submerged in the lady pond. And like I said, maybe that's just Atlanta tea. I don't know a lot about Pinky Cole. I do know that she had the slutty vegan, but like I said, I don't know. You know, we hear these things. We know that, like I said, with them being in Atlanta and people just gossiping the way they do, they hear a lot more and see a lot more about these people. So when they say it, it may not even really be that much of a secret, but to us, it's kind of like, oh, they spilling their tea. But everybody else may already know that. So Pinky said, you know, she said she would not, you know, she said, so they asked her like what happened. She said that she and the lady broke up, but she says basically she does like men. And so Drew said that she said she participated in a threesome with Ralph. She said she was trying to be a submissive wife and she participated that, but she said that she would not solely just be with a woman. And you know, I know a lot of people gonna say Drew's lying, Drew was with Ty, Drew was dealing with Ty. The question is, would you actually like just be in a full-on relationship, or would you solely just be with a woman? The question was, have you ever been with women? The women answered the question appropriately. Most of them said that they have been with have been with women, but they would not solely just be with a woman. So Drew answered the question correctly. She did not lie. I know a lot of people are going to jump on the bandwagon. Oh, Drew's a liar, Drew's a liar, Drew's a liar. Drew didn't say I would never be with a woman. She said not solely with a woman. And so Cynthia said she kissed a woman. Of course, Porsha teased her about the time that they kissed. Kay said yes. She said when she moved to Atlanta, she was with a woman. It was a whole lot of drama. The woman ended up sleeping with her hairdresser child, and it was a whole big mess. She was trying to make it in the industry. But Kay said after that relationship, she just went back to men and has been with men ever since. Kelly said she also encountered the same thing as Drew. Perhaps they had a threesome with She had a threesome with her husband. They did something with the woman with her husband, but she said it's not for her. She says she's the jealous type, and she says she does not like it. Phaedra said, you know, hey, I've never been with a woman, but she said, I agree with you. She said, I'm too jealous to even, you know, share my man like that. You can hear her kind of like with the amen corner down at the end. Drew said, yeah, she agreed with Kelly as well. She said it created a lot of insecurities within her. And Kelly said it does. She agreed. Kelly said it does make you look at it like, am I not, as a woman, not enough for you? So I'm just trying to figure out, I know these women try to please their husbands, but hey, if your man can't figure out what it needs to be with all of what you got, then hey, he need to just go and be and do his thing, or just be single. He doesn't need to be married. And I know everybody defines marriage and what marriage is differently. You know, I know what people want to do and behind their closed doors is different, but I just think that a lot of women make mistakes in, you know, doing the threesomes, especially when they're not really into that. It just seems to cause a lot of problems. So we see where Kelly and Drew are now, and so obviously even them doing that still did not keep their marriage together. So they were all talking, and I think they asked Angela, Phaedra, and one other person. Oh, Angela, Phaedra, and SHAMEA said that they had never been with a woman. So Drew said, okay. She said, well, Porsha, you told us that SHAMEA kissed Candy. So SHAMEA, no. I wasn't with Candy. I never kissed Candy. I have kissed a woman before. Now, Porsha did not say anything. We know that Porsha has already said that she too was kissing Candy. I do believe that. I believe that 100%. But I was glad that Drew said it. A lot of people were saying that Drew's timing was off, and it did seem off. But the reason why, to me, I'm glad that Drew said it is because Porsha and SHAMEA are tiptoeing around each other, and things are being said. One is saying something about the other behind closed doors or behind their back, but when they come together, nobody's saying anything. And now people are saying that Drew is actually Porsha's lapdog, or whatever the case may be. But Drew wasn't afraid to say something to Porsha. She didn't know what kind of reaction she was going to get from Porsha when she said it, but she said it. And I'm glad that she did, because I'm tired of them tiptoeing around each other. We know that they're going to eventually have a conversation, but it's just getting annoying that all the rumors, all the things that have been said have not been brought up in 13 episodes. That is disgusting. Like, who are their producers? By now, they should have had some type of conversation, and maybe they were just waiting for the explosion of the girls trip, but to me, they waited too long in the season. So then Pinky said that she actually enjoyed, she said, I've been riding with Angela. She said when we first got here, I was in the car with Drew and Angela. And she said, we actually had a good time. She said, we talked about, things in this group. And she said, really what it is, she said, what I'm coming to see, she said, even what I got from them is just breakdown in communication. And that's what it is. So Pinky was like, Andrew, you okay? And Angela was like, I'm okay. But then she said, I want to address SHAMEA. She said, I want to now talk about what you said to my daughter, because what you said to my daughter was offensive to me. So SHAMEA was like, you know, here you go. You're on me again. You know, it wasn't that deep. It wasn't that serious. So SHAMEA tells Pinky to read the text at the table. So SHAMEA, once all the text messages were read, all the women had came to the conclusion that SHAMEA had not been with George. So Angela said, well, girl, what you don't know is that I had a 2-minute conversation with Ashley myself. And she said, I told Ashley that her name was never brought up. I was the one who said you were sleeping around. And then she said that, you know, about getting the information or whatever. So basically, it just came out that Angela basically lied, and she did. And it was okay. Like I said, Angela does not care for SHAMEA, and she's going to continue to go after SHAMEA. And so Phaedra said, well, what we need to say is that children are off limits. And Pinky said, no, spouses should be too. And Phaedra said, well, not necessarily. Basically, they're grown. They can speak for themselves, but a child cannot. So that was the end of that. So the girls were in Phaedra's room, I think. So it was Drew, Cynthia, PORSHA, and then, of course, Phaedra. Drew said something came up. She had her phone, and she said something came up on the blog about Kelly's, her financial issues and something that her husband was doing. So it was something about the case. And they all saw, they was like, yeah, you know, so it just so happens that Kelly came in and they asked Kelly if it was okay. So apparently the girls all knew that this is something that came out. Kelly probably even saw it herself. And so Kelly broke down. You know, Kelly said that basically she doesn't want to fight anymore. And Kelly has been having a hard time. Like, I know people say they can't stand Kelly, they hate Kelly, but I feel like Kelly has been in the battle of her life, and it has made her very angry and very bitter. She's drinking a lot, she's lashing out at the wrong people, and I just think Kelly is just not in a good place. So I've been kind of like giving Kelly some grace, because I do feel like when you don't have money, you can't take care of your children. You know, you have a daughter in college, you want her to be well, you want to live this life, you want to be on this show, and nothing seems to be working out. That can be a lot. So I do feel like Kelly has kind of taken a beating, not from the girls per se, but just in life, and I think that they should give her a little grace. And she said she doesn't want to fight anymore. PORSHA said, you know, when we were at Angela's event for her mom, she said, I even told Phaedra that I don't want to fight you with you anymore. I want to be there for you. I can see that you're hurting, and we are a sisterhood. And, you know, of course, Phaedra was co-signing that. Yep. Now, one thing about Phaedra, if you watch Phaedra over the years, Phaedra is a confessional gangster. Phaedra will say things behind a person's back, but when it comes to conflict and one-on-one, she doesn't like that. If you watch Phaedra, Phaedra does not like for people to argue too much. She doesn't like for people to go at it. She just does not like conflict for some reason. So Kelly said, well, I want to apologize to you. I have been going at you. I have been saying things to you, but I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm going to apologize to you. And, you know, and so PORSHA said she accepted it or whatever, and they kind of like sort of shook on it and just said that they weren't going to go after each other. So Drew was upset. She was visibly upset. Drew said, she said she wants Kelly to win, because this, I think in a week, when they get back, they have a court date. So Drew was like, Kelly, I want you to win, she said, because that will inspire me. And I understood what Drew was saying, in a sense where Drew is, these men, Ralph and Drew's husband Ralph, or ex-husband Ralph, and Kelly's husband, they have gone after them not just mentally and psychologically, but they have also gone after these ladies financially. And when Drew said that that will kind of keep her going, I felt Drew, because Drew and Kelly haven't really talked, but Drew is pretty much in the same situation and in the same boat that Kelly was in. Ralph wanted a lot of Drew's money, and so, you know, Drew said she doesn't know where she's going to live. You know, she just has a lot on her, and she was kind of crying. And I do believe people always say Drew's a liar, but I felt like Drew was being sincere. I feel like Drew still has not been able to tell us all of what she's gone through with Ralph. You know, and PORSHA said, look, you know, you have to pray and just ask God to help you to just let go of the house. You know, that's not really your home. Like, your home is where your children are. Your home is where you can be safe. She said, she said, hey, if Pilar and I have to move out of that house, we're still going to be good and you're going to be okay. And Kelly told Drew, don't worry about it. She said, you will be fine. God's got you. And, you will come through this. And Cynthia said, look, I've been there. She said, I'm not in the place where I was, 5 years ago. She said, and the blessings keep coming. She said, I took a hit, but then I got blessed with so many other things and it worked out for me. So trust and believe you can make it. So then Phaedra, Minister Phaedra, that's where the PK comes in. She said one of her favorite scriptures is, I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. And Phaedra was just basically saying, I don't worry about money because opportunities come. And basically she was saying that the God in heaven that I serve will always look out for me. And I do understand what Phaedra was saying. Now, Phaedra, when you're talking to people who don't have money, people hear you, and it was good that you were encouraging them with the word. But sometimes it's like people with money always say they don't worry about money. So you were telling Kelly and Drew that, but I know that they took it in good faith and they understood what you were saying. And most of us understand what you're saying, that basically, if you have faith and you have faith in God, that he will come through for you. Sometimes it's unexpected. Sometimes it comes through a person or a situation that you least expect. Sometimes you can go down to nothing, but God will provide. And that's how the episode ended. So the girls seem to be bonding a little bit in Scotland. We don't know what else is to come. They're going to be, I think, on like a 2-week break now. I don't think they're coming back until July 12th, but that's expected because these girls have not they haven't been offered. They haven't had that normal break yet. But again, like I said, overall, it was a good episode. I enjoyed the episode. But let me know what you guys think. How did you like this episode? How do you feel about Angela? Do you feel like Angela's having, a terrible second season? Or do you feel like Angela's still your girl? To me, Angela had a bad episode. I don't think she's had a bad season per se. I think Angela had a bad episode where she did kind of come at SHAMEA for no reason. And it did come across as Angela was just being a flat out liar and being whack about this whole situation. But also tell me how you feel. Do you feel like Kelli and Porsha's their little truce, do you feel like it will last, or do you feel like by the end of this season they will be right back where they were? How do you feel about the girls going to Scotland? Are you excited to see more of this girls trip? How do you feel like they're all going to come out as the season goes on? And are you excited to see now with SHAMEA and Porsha? Because on the next episode, SHAMEA and Porsha finally go at it. And who do you think is going to come out as the victor in that? Do you think are you team Porsha or are you team SHAMEA? So let me know what you think, guys. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and also share my video. I know sometimes that people, you're at work and you're listening. I used to do that a lot, listen to a lot of people while I was working or even driving or sometimes even cooking, and you can just kind of listen to my video. So like I said, please share my video. There may be someone who doesn't actually have Peacock or just doesn't have the time to actually watch the episode. Some of you are adult learners. You're back in school. You're doing all these things. You have kids. You have so many things going on and you just don't have time to watch. Well, I try to be as detailed as I can, guys. So if you can just sort of listen to my videos, I try to give you the best that I got and give you all that I have and tell you everything that happened in the episode. So I hope I did my due diligence for you. And like I said, I will be back with some other things. So again, guys, and like I said too, if you want to leave me a comment, please leave me a comment. People are starting to leave more comments on my page, and I truly appreciate that. I reply or respond back to everyone accordingly. I love hearing from you guys, and if that's not your thing, I truly get it, but I do appreciate the ones who actually take their time to do it. So again, guys, have a great day. This is the 4th of July week, so we are going to be celebrating. Most people are maybe going out of town, going on vacation. You may just be having a cookout, or you may just be relaxing or whatever you do. Have a safe week. Enjoy your holiday, and I will see you on the next video. Bye, guys.